Well, I guess it's time to go back to the retro games. After all, it is in the title of the show. And today I'm going to review an unlikely game that surfaced on the Super Nintendo, about an unlikely hero and an unlikely adventure to get back home.
You all probably saw the Angry Video Game Nerd's review of Lester the Unlikely. He bashed this game up, down, and around. However, the avgn is just a character for entertainment value. I don't think he really reviews games, but just scratches the surface, and his review of Lester the Unlikely is proof of that.
Truth be told, some of the games that the nerd reviews aren't bad, just difficult. And honestly, I think that James Rolfe is going to retire the nerd character after his avgn movie's released.
Lester the Unlikely at the time of its release was kind of ahead of its time. While it may look like a platform game, it's actually an adventure game, but the game does take control away from you quite often in the beginning of the game. The character Lester is unlike any other character. He's a nerd who is on his own and in a dangerous environment. Like when you come up to things like crabs and turtles for the first time, Lester will run away. Then if you go back, he'll creep up to it and so you can kick it. And any time after that, he'll normally walk towards it. And when heights are involved, he'll refuse, but will climb down when you make him.
And these things happen less and less as Lester faces the challenges that are before him, so you really get to see the character develop, which is something we really don't see in video games, because characters are mainly written as is, because we only have a few hours with them. Well, except for RPGs, and that's probably really the only exception.
That's a pretty unique gameplay element that they added, and I commend them for doing something so different. Speaking of different, all of Lester's animations are rotoscoped, meaning they recorded someone acting out the animations and then traced over the frames, giving it a more natural look. Graphically, a lot of things look the same, but hey, it's a tropical island. I don't think that many things are going to be too different. The music doesn't sound that great. It's rather forgettable, stereotypical tropical island music.
One thing that I think I should bring up is that this game is very similar to a game that came out in 1991 called Out of This World, or Another World if you're in the UK, or Outer World if you're in Japan. And the main character in that game was also called Lester, who was actually a scientist. Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?
When you take control of Lester, the control layout is weird but not bad. B jumps, X runs, Y picks up things on the ground and uses items and will push objects. And A will use your weapon if you have one. Unless you have a sword, then A will sheath and unsheath it, and X and Y will attack with it. But you won't get a sword until the end of the game. Now, one thing that the avgn got wrong, and I mean stupidly, horribly wrong, was that you can in fact hold a weapon and an item at the same time. His mistake was that he wasn't standing in the correct position to pick up the weapon.
Now, I'm not picking on the avgn. In fact, if I was going to pick on anyone, it would be the irate gamer, because that guy just flat out sucks. But I respect the avgn. I like his work, but his reviews are more for entertainment value rather than being informative.
It's really evident that the avgn was playing this game badly on purpose. Like when he had a hard time climbing up onto the ledge and kept falling off the rock. Firstly, the game does require that you stand in the right place, otherwise you can't grab the ledge. All he had to do was tap the directional pad. What he was doing was holding the directional pad so he would purposely fall off. This is one of those games that requires perfect placement of Lester if you want to accomplish something. But the good thing is you can take your time. There's no time limit and there's very little enemies or objects that would come after you.
Now, this game is in some weird limbo of easy and difficult. You'll get killed a lot more times instantly than you will losing your hit points.
Your hit points are represented by the canteens at the top of the screen. Yeah, those green circles with yellow X's on them are canteens. You'll find them all across the levels, and drinking one replenishes one hit point. The only things that cause damage are small animals and falling too far. I don't understand why the avgn complained about that. Taking damage from falling wasn't that uncommon, and it's pretty easy to avoid taking damage from falling. All you have to do is just gently drop yourself down, which was another complaint of his, saying that it was tedious, but even pointed out that other games did that, like Prince of Persia.
So by his logic, Prince of Persia, a critically acclaimed game, is tedious. It's an adventure game. That's the style of the game, and that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be doing things a certain way.
One thing that I'm surprised that he didn't mention was that you barely get that brief few seconds of invincibility after taking damage. When Lester takes a hit, he whimpers, and that invincibility lasts the duration of that sound, which is about a second. So you can lose all your hit points pretty quickly. But most of the time you'll be killed instantly because the game works mainly on trial and error, and it also depends on your timing, reflexes, memory, and problem-solving skills. And Lester does move slower than you'd like him to, so ducking or leaving a room can be problematic, but you can work with it.
It's very unlikely that you'll get through this game in the first playthrough. You get 3 lives and 3 continues, but when you die, it's back to the beginning of the stage.
As I said, this game is difficult, but like most difficult games, it's short. Yeah, there's a bunch of levels, but they're all very short. You can get from point A to point B in about a minute or less if you know what to do. Most of the stages are easy to slightly challenging, while others are difficult to the point of seeming impossible. Because of the short nature of the levels, there's no checkpoints. If you die, it's back to the beginning of the stage. It's not terrible, it's just annoying since you'll probably die towards the end and then have to do everything all over again.
I don't even think that this game has extra lives, because I didn't find any, but why would I? This game is difficult. Why would they want you to win?
The story is of the coming-of-age type. Lester falls asleep while reading a comic and ends up on a boat that's hijacked by pirates. He swims to an island and tries to find some way to get home. Lester has to face his fears and go from the unlikely protagonist that he is to a hero. Lester is such a joke of a character that after he introduces himself to the princess of the native tribe of the island as Lester the Brave, she retorts by calling him Lester the Unlikely. But he does overcome his fears and saves the tribe's leader and manages to get back home.
It's unlikely that this game is going to get any higher than a bargain bin fodder rating. It's not bad, just bland. But I want to know your opinion. Is this game as bad as the angry video game nerd says it is? Or is it as bland as I say that it is? Or does the irate gamer really suck as much dick as we all think? I want to know your thoughts. Leave a comment below.